Hello and welcome to another episode of Staying Power. This is a show that is all about building a better life. And isn't that what you want? I know it's what I want. I know it's what most of the people I know want, and so I'm assuming that it's what everybody wants. But nevertheless, that's why we're here. Every week we get together, we talk about one topic, one way, one method, one angle, one something on how to build a better life, and we hope that it resonates with you. By we, I mean myself. I am JDK Winnikin. Across from me is someone who needs no introduction at this point, but I always give her a really good one because, you know, there's so many superlatives I could put out there. But really, in the end, she's the one who gives me somebody to talk to, and I give her somebody to talk to for this hour. And we just learn a lot from each other because above and beyond all the things we are deeply, very, very good friends. This is Ashley Knievel. Hi, Ashley.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm great.
Good. I sometimes, in all these intros, it's all my way of kind of reinforcing the fact that we are at our core just really good friends.
We are. And sometimes I sit here and stare across while you're yapping, and I'm like, I really appreciate this man. I do. I know I say that with humor, but
thank you.
It's the truth.
Thank you. I appreciate you.
A straw can't stir a drink if it doesn't have a cup. So.
I hold the drink and you stir the drink?
Isn't that what that is?
I like that.
Oh my gosh.
I hadn't thought about that before. I didn't realize that. Well,
wow.
All right. Anyway, thank you so much. Now that the mutual admiration fest,
we've got that done. Moving on.
So welcome to all of you. If you're a first-time listener, we're so glad to have you here. And if you'd like to hear more of these episodes, you can get this as a podcast wherever you get your podcasts. We also have a number of video episodes at our YouTube channel, Staying Power Show. And at those locations, as well as our radio home, 1150 AM KKNW, you can find a number of links of ways to communicate with us on social media, stayingpowershow@gmail.com, a number of different ways. And also there, you can find links to our wonderful sponsor, Pars Revive Renovation, which is a home renovation company based here on the east side of the Seattle metro area, but they serve pretty much the entire Puget Sound area. You can find out more about them at parsrenovation.com, P-A-R-S, renovation. We're about kind of building, renewing things on the inside of ourselves. They're about doing the same thing on the inside of your home, and they do amazing work. And if you decide to reach out to them to see if they can help you and inspire you, make sure you mention that you heard about them on Staying Power and just kind of watch what happens. Some cool things might go down. You never know. So thank you for joining us. And of course, for those of you longtime listeners, thank you so much for all the feedback you give us and for the time and the attention that you give us. It means a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. So
this was your topic this week,
I know. This is interesting.
For those continually placing bets on what topic came from who.
Yeah, this is my topic.
This one was your topic.
Yeah. And this one, like last week's topic, we had to really kind of feel our way through, right? That rebellious grief conversation. Yes. Yeah, you know that one. We had to kind of feel our way through. This one might do something similar, and it hits on some themes that we've talked about before. We've talked on the show before about what you expect or what you assume. You are going to find ways to reinforce that, right, in your life. And so you can kind of choose your directions more than you think, or choose your emotions more than you think, or set your expectations more than you think. But I was really caught up in this thing I saw on social media. I saw this post the other day that really kind of pointed some of these things out in a way that removed the whole question of, do we need to judge ourselves for this? Or are we moral failures if we do these things? It just turned it into a neurological exercise, which of course I love, right? Yes, I know. There's this. Okay. So Ashley, I'm going to do this in such a way that hopefully this will illustrate this, because this is how it presented this.
Okay.
Close your eyes.
Okay.
Okay. Just clear your head, because I want you to, allow an image to come in with this. If I say, don't think about the elephant, what image came to mind in your head?
Well, one of those elephants with a red circle and a line through it.
But you saw an elephant.
Of course.
Okay, you saw an elephant.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. But the direction was, don't look at the elephant. But your brain immediately looked at the elephant.
Sure.
Why did the brain do that? Because in order to make sense of a negative order, it must take a look. The brain must establish what is the thing not to be looked at or not to be done.
Sure. Has to establish that
first. Has to establish that first in order to have a point of comparison.
So funny.
I know. This blew me away, right? And maybe for some of you listening out there who know this field so much better than I do, maybe it's not that surprising. But there was something about that I absolutely loved because it's really true.
Mm-hmm.
So now turn this into something else. Think of the task you hate the most at work.
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking of the task I hate the most at work, right?
Okay.
But you also know it's a really important task.
Yes, there's always
the one you can't screw up.
Mm-hmm.
If you ask yourself or you tell yourself, don't screw this up,
mm-hmm.
the brain automatically creates a scenario of what it would look like if you screwed it up or what the consequences would be if you screwed it up.
And then that's the track you play.
And then suddenly you are acting, behaving, responding against that thing
mm-hmm.
rather than actually doing the things that might help you not screw it up.
That's interesting.
Right. Which then it reinforces the idea of the language we use to speak to ourselves about the things that we have going on in our life goes a long way. We tend to think that language is our response to reality,
mm-hmm.
right? And it can be, like you saying at the beginning, the top here, our Mutual Admiration Society at the top. That came from a place of feeling, noticing, choosing to say something.
Mm-hmm.
However, we could be, it's like, say we were in some argument, right? Hopefully not on the air, although a lot of people would like to hear that probably,
my gosh.
right?
They probably would.
Right, they probably would. But say some argument and things are heated,
mm-hmm.
right? And we're not feeling really good about it. If I then say, even if I don't feel it, I really care about you. I really don't want us to be in this spot. I would really like us to lower our defenses.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like us to remember that we're important to one another. I'd like us to remember that we've invested a lot.
Mm-hmm.
All of a sudden, that helps create a new reality, right?
Mm-hmm.
Helps lower the temperature. Words can build the reality too. Words
right.
aren't just an expression of a reality, right, that we're
mm-hmm.
doing. And we tend to focus on that first one, right? We feel a certain way, something happens, we feel great. Oh, I'm so happy.
Mm-hmm.
My team won. Or like you shared last week, you're going to go to New York City and see the Harry Potter play,
yes.
right? That's a reaction that we use words to express,
mm-hmm.
right? And that's an expression of a reality that you're choosing to build. Go to New York, or expressing something that just happened. My team won. But that doesn't mean you can say, I'm going to go to New York, and that somehow makes it happen. Or my team's going to win when they haven't won yet, and somehow that's going to make it happen.
Mm-hmm.
However, it can be something like, I really want to go to New York and do this. I want to find a way to make this happen.
Mm-hmm.
That helps build the reality. I really hope my team wins, and also, I know they might not, so how do I want to prepare myself if they don't? That helps build the possibility of reality. Does that make sense?
I think so.
Okay. What stands out to you in that? Because this kind of blew me away. And you were like, okay, we'll talk about this, but now we're talking about it. So what do you think?
Well, it's kind of interesting. It is interesting. And it's interesting to see how many applications of this are actually out there when you really start to look. As you did the elephant example, there was something that came to mind back in my younger years. I'd go snowmobiling every winter. And what do you not want to do is run into the trees. So what are you told? Don't look at the trees, because when you're riding, where you look is where you will go.
Yes.
And so many times people that I'm riding with, not me, but others, would continually look at the trees to make sure they were like, okay, I know the tree's right there, so I don't want to hit it. So I'm going to keep looking at the trees so I know where I'm at in retrospect to that. And you know how many of them ended up hitting the trees that they were looking at, wanting to not hit them and think like, oh, if I'm keeping my eye on them, then I'll go on the path. And anyways, and it just was kind of like you said, like you're drawing attention to something that you're not wanting to do. But you have to see what it is you're not supposed to be doing, you don't want to do, to know how not to do it.
Yep. Mm-hmm. And yet it can draw you in anyway.
Mm-hmm.
It's so interesting you use that example, because this is actually has a name. It's called ironic process theory. Okay. This has a name, ironic process theory. Daniel Wegner is the guy who coined this. And it's essentially the theory that when we are told not to think about something, we think about it that much more.
Sure.
Right? which is why, like, what I found difficult, like, for example, in addiction recovery, it cannot just be, don't think about alcohol. Mm-hmm. Don't think about this behavior. Don't think about doing, it can't just be that, because then it just flips the obsession on its head, right? If you're obsessed with something and you continue to do it, you can stay obsessed with it if all you're thinking about is not doing it.
Right. Yes, because you're still focused on it.
Because you're still focused on it. It's still dominating your life. So it has to be about more than that. And ironic process theory, he used the example of the white bear, right? I used the elephant. But another example that he uses was when you're skiing, right? An effective way to teach people to ski is to get them to focus on the hills, focus on what's in front of them. Don't talk about, don't go towards the trees.
Yes.
Yeah. Right? Yeah. The trees are the barrier. Make it self-evident that you don't hit the trees, right? Don't go towards the trees. Stay in the center, right? It's more clear there. Because the brain, to a certain degree, does not process don't without tapping on the dreaded central nervous system, fight, flight, or freeze. Because don't do something triggers the part of the body, the part of the brain, and the body's response to don't means a danger. So you got to find the danger, identify the danger, say the danger is real, and then not do the dangerous thing, right?
Yeah.
So it's to me, it was such a fascinating way to lay that out, because then we start changing how we do things.
Well, sure. Because
it's not about don't, it's about what to do.
Sure. Well, that is a question that comes to mind. So if we're going to use the snowmobiling example, like, don't go into the trees, stay on the path. So would you more or less focus on stay on the path, or
stay on the path?
Is it don't stay on the path? Because then you're constantly looking at the path, being like, hey, don't stay on it, but
that's
I assume
a simple direction,
that's
right?
Kind of a tongue-in-cheek
Yes,
answer.
the difference would be the trees would be the danger. The path's not the danger.
Does your brain know the difference?
Well, chances are, if you know that you have to drive a snowmobile and you have to go a certain direction and there's a path, it makes more sense to go on the path than it does to go through the trees. I wonder if
while you're doing it, you're telling yourself, don't stay on the path, if something feels really weird.
I'm sure it does.
You're feeling like an internal conflict.
Yeah, like a dissonance.
But I thought I'm supposed to.
Yes.
So.
Yeah, like a cognitive dissonance, for sure. Yeah, it's more about doing this. Like, so for example, if you're teaching a kid how to play baseball, right? Don't swing at pitches that drop, right? Okay.
Sure.
What do? What does that do? Don't do that. The rules can be laid out by something about pointing out what to do.
Right.
Right? Do this, right? This still may happen, but this is the way to do this, right? That type of thing. Because then what happens is, and think about what happens with people all the time. If they continue to do something and they're told, no, don't do that, don't do that, don't do that, don't do that, it starts to build up as negative feeling, negative sense of self. It's easy to blame oneself, and they're getting into that fight, flight, or freeze rather than like, okay, that doesn't work, so we need to do this instead. Doing this is better, right? So that's the thing. It takes the equation out of what needs to not happen, right? Because then it's emphasizing this is why we do A, B, and C. It doesn't mean we shouldn't point out consequences, right? Trees are not friendly to skiers or snowmobiles, right? Those don't mix, right? So we keep those out, right? We keep those out. Those are outside the boundaries. Everything that we're focusing on is going to be right here, right? To take the baseball example, everything that's on the baseball diamond is what we're focusing on, right? Saying don't pay attention to the jeering fans or the jeering parents or whatever, just focuses them on what people are saying in the stands. We focus on everything that's out here, right? If you focus on this, these things will happen, right? It just kind of changes the dynamic of how we are shaping our reality. And I think that, to me, was such an important part of this, because we can really get on ourselves for our negative thinking, right? Or for saying, no, I don't want to do that. Or like, I don't want to make that mistake again. Or I should have listened to myself, or I really don't want to do this thing, but I keep thinking about it. I keep wanting to do that. When maybe not even maybe, this theory and our own neuropsychology points out this is actually kind of what we're hardwired to do if we give it a certain input. And if the input is what not to do or that's don't, we automatically have to create a worst case scenario because that's what the brain requires in order to give ourselves the urgency that not to do that. So it becomes, how can we reach the same goals without triggering that part of the body that floods us with cortisol, that floods us with doubt, where we start beating ourselves up for our past failures, or we, in the case of my sister, when she was learning to drive and my dad was telling her, don't drive towards the pole, don't drive towards the pole, she drove towards the pole.
Of course she did.
Right? And that's easy to do because it's my sister and it's fun to, poke on her because I have my own podcast, right?
I'm like, what? Because she's terrible at driving?
No, she's actually a very good driver, but I remember that very clearly. But that's the thing. And people always wonder why. Well, that's why, right? Ironic process theory. If you point out that very thing you're not supposed to do, people are going to want to go towards it, right?
Of course.
Right?
I mean, you see it in children.
See it in children. You see it in, there's a reason why, there's a lot of examples we could choose, right? But I don't want to talk too long here. A lot of examples we can choose, but it is all about the things we assign, right? Right. We tell kids here, don't drink before you're 21. Don't drink before you're 21. We hammer it home. There's an issue with underage
don't
drinking.
Touch the hot stove.
Right.
What do they do?
Yet in Europe, right? In Europe, their teen alcoholic rates are way lower, and yet they can drink at a much earlier age. Why is that? Probably because of what's being assigned as the do's and do nots and don'ts and things like that. So
it's very interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think so. It'll be interesting to see what we can explore.
Okay.
Like all right, good. Now that we've made sense of it, let's go ahead and take a deep break. And we'll come back after the break and we'll dig into more of this, see what Ashley has to think, and I'll share a little bit more what I uncovered about this. And be sure you stick around later in the show. We have our weekly segment. This week it's 2 Minutes of Terror, so you're going to want to stick around for that. And, of course, make sure you stick around, listen to the commercial that we have here for our sponsor, Pars Revive Renovation. They do great stuff, and we hope you check them out at parsrenovation.com. We'll be back in just a minute here on Staying Power. On Staying Power, we talk a lot about building a better life.
And a big part of that is the space you live in every day.
That's why we're excited to partner with Pars Revive Renovation, helping homeowners across the East Side and Puget Sound create spaces that truly reflect who they are.
Whether it's a kitchen, bathroom, or full home renovation, Pars Revive focuses on thoughtful design, quality craftsmanship, and your unique vision.
Because just like personal growth, your home should evolve with you.
To learn more, visit parsrenovation.com. That's PARSrenovation.com and start building a space that supports the life you want to live. Hey, JD, do you want to have a better life?
Yeah. Doesn't everybody?
Yes, we do. How do I go about doing that?
A good place to start would be listening to our new show, Staying Power.
What's it about?
It's about all the ways we can overcome the challenges that we sometimes put in front of ourselves to live a better life.
Where can I find it?
You can listen to it on 1150 AM KKNW every Wednesday at 4 p.m. and Fridays at 9 a.m. or wherever you get your podcasts.
Let's do this together every week on Staying Power.
Working hard to put a smile on your face. Alternative Talk 1150.
Welcome back to Staying Power. JD here with Ashley.
Hello.
And we are talking about really kind of reframing our language away from the don'ts in life and more towards the do's. And while that sounds kind of a simplistic way to do it, it is based in a lot of strong scientific backing. And so we're kind of talking a little bit about that. And essentially what it comes down to is this: if you keep pointing out something that you're not supposed to do, it creates more and more of a focus on it, and the likelihood that in some way, shape, or form you are going to over-focus on it and trip up over it, whatever that might happen to be. So instead of shaping it that way, what are the different ways we can shape it instead, right? And so rather than getting the brain focused on threat or on error or on risk, making ourselves hyper-vigilant or hyper-aware of making mistakes, it allows us to be exactly who we are, right? Because otherwise it creates a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Right.
Do you ever have anything in your life that was a self-fulfilling prophecy?
I'm sure. There's nothing that comes straight to mind, but I'm sure I have something.
And I'm sure you've seen it in other people. Yeah.
Do you?
Oh my gosh. Are you kidding? Whole addictive life is self-fulfilling prophecy. That's all it is, right? When you try to not do something that you know is harming you and all you're doing is focusing on it, you start to tell yourself, there's no way I can not do this. There's no way I can hold on and not do this. There's no way I can't stop drinking forever, or I can't that can't be my last time doing A, B, or C. You can get so hyper-focused on it that you end up just sliding off that slope, right?
I had something similar like that, but it was a caffeine addiction.
Okay.
When I was like 16.
Okay. That's a real thing.
It was.
Okay.
It was weird because at 16, I didn't think you could be addicted to coffee because I always heard that you could be addicted to other things.
Right.
And
Number one addictive substance is caffeine.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
I thought it was happiness. But it's not. It's caffeine. Yeah, right? But yeah, no, it just, I ended up I worked at Starbucks and I would have coffee in the morning before going to school and then after school, like before work. And then you get coffee beans from working there. And so then I'm like, oh, I need to learn about the coffees because I'm selling them. So I'm drinking black coffee every night to like get to know the coffee. And it got to the point where I started counting it up and I was consuming at 16, 17-ish, 8 shots of espresso a day and half a pot of black coffee at night.
Whoa.
Yes.
Wow.
Like 4 or 5 days a week.
Wow.
Yeah. It was really bad. And then I learned, and then I would obsess over it. I was like, every few hours, I'm like, I think I could go get coffee right now. I could probably go get some. Oh, there's an espresso stand. It's like, it was really interesting at such a young age to learn like how that actually works. And all of a sudden how your brain is finding ways for you to nonchalantly walk past the espresso stand and, you know, whatever. Yeah. I got off of it, obviously, but it was interesting.
I had a very similar story when I was in college and I lived on my own. First thing I would do every morning is I'd get up and go to the refrigerator. I'd take out a can of Coke, slam it right there at the refrigerator, then crack open a second one and walk around with it while I got ready for my day. And I drank a lot of soda, a lot of caffeinated soda. Yeah. And end of my freshman year, I came home and I was not feeling well. And so my parents took me to the doctor and they were doing all these blood tests and things like that. And, you know, and I used to have a real strong hypochondriac streak once upon a time. So I thought there was always something wrong with me. Yeah, I always thought there was something wrong with me. And so the doctor calls us up one day and says, can you guys come in? You know, you and your dad, can you guys come in? I'm like, oh God, what is he going to tell us, right?
Serious?
So I went to the full catastrophe mode. Came in and the doctor said, all right, so we did a lot of different blood tests because your blood sugar levels are way too high. And yet you're skinny as a rail, right? Yeah. And I was as thin as a rail, he says, but your blood sugar levels are way too high. So we did some tests. You are drinking so much caffeine that caffeine is showing up in tests that don't test for caffeine.
Oh my gosh.
Said you need to, what are you drinking on a daily basis? Because right now it looks like you're drinking like a 12-pack of soda a day. And I went, that's probably true.
Oh my goodness.
So I had to cut out soda and I had to go cold turkey.
And like your blood is soda, actually,
exactly.
At this point.
I actually didn't have a soda after that for about 7 years.
Did you have a horrible crash?
Horrible crash. I got my caffeine from elsewhere, right? But the soda crash was terrible.
Well, because it's also sugar.
Yeah, it was bad. It was bad. But anyway.
Okay.
Right. But no, that's it. So how did you then, so rather than don't do this anymore, did there certainly, that's always there. What did you do instead?
I'm so smart. So I knew that I had an issue and I'm like, well, clearly I need some help with this. And I'm young. Like I said, I'm 15 years old. I am going to college. Yes, I was in college at 15 and I was trying to figure this out. I'm like, what do I do? So I obviously befriended the baristas that I stopped at the coffee stand every morning. And I started telling them that I was having this issue. And so I was like, please help me with this, placebo this. I'm going to come in. I'm going to order the same drink I order every day. But I don't want you to add 4 shots of espresso in the morning. I would like, at your own discretion, maybe only put 2 or do like half calf or,
Smart.
Just 1 shot, something.
Smart.
And don't tell me. Write the same number on the cup, everything, every time. And I'm sure there were days that I felt a difference, but I still told myself it was the same thing. And I honestly did not know, but I do know. I asked them like later on.
It's clever.
And they're like, oh yeah, we definitely reduced the amount of espresso that you were getting just because you needed some help. So I did that.
Yep. That's smart. That's smart because what that does is it sets the goal of, I know I don't want to do this, but this is what I'm going to do instead. And that's a steady kind of, re-maneuvering. It reminds me when I was learning how to, when I was younger, I was learning how to be a lifeguard, right? I want to learn how to, I was doing all that. And if you get swept out by a current, you're not supposed to try and swim directly back into it.
Right.
You have to swim at an angle. You swim with the current and take it steadily towards shore. right? You might end up a mile or two down the beach, but you'll get back to shore, right? That's kind of a similar approach, right? You're accepting a certain reality and then working within that reality to fix the problem. That's a really good one. It in the end, and if the outcome is in that situation, get off caffeine, but cold turkey is just going to remind me of all the don'ts.
Right.
That's adjusting the outcome in your mind. The outcome is to get off that, right? And that gives you the creativity to figure out a way to do that. Swimming towards the shore at an angle does the same thing. The outcome you want is to get to shore, right? In the end. That's the thing about what we're talking about. Whatever you think the outcome is or you fear the outcome is going to be often aligns with the expectations that we make for reaching that outcome or not. There's an old movie called Tin Cup, starred Kevin Costner back in the day.
Oh, I've heard of him.
Yeah, you've heard of him. Okay, yes.
I know he's been in a couple movies I've seen.
Always been in a lot. Okay, but this was a sports movie about a golfer who was kind of this, he'd been great at one point and like the wheels came off, like mentally, internally, like he just fell apart. And he comes back, he does this big long comeback, and he's kind of this savant, right, at golf. At least that's had the reputation. But he's had this spectacular failure. And there's this famous scene in the film where at this big pivotal moment, he's getting back on the greens and he's playing in this tournament. And he's coming up to this hole that has bedeviled him many times in his career. And there's a huge water hazard between him and the hole. And you have to go a long way. You have to hit it over the water. And you can tell, he's telling himself, don't put it in the water.
Oh, no.
Right? Because this was kind of how the wheels started to come off. And what does he do? He puts it right in the water.
Of course.
And then he puts the ball down again. In the middle, you're not supposed to do this, but he puts another ball down and hits it in the water. Does it again and again and again. And he's taking a 2-stroke penalty every time he does this. Again and again and again. And he's trying to will himself to not put it in the water, right? But he keeps putting it in the water.
Right.
And so in the end, what we're talking about would be, as difficult as it would be, particularly in a place where something significant happened, why wasn't the focus on just put it on the green? I can hit the green, right? I'm going to hit the green.
Right.
I'm going to put it right where I'm supposed to, right? That, when people talk about the mental approach of a game, like how does a baseball player, besides lots of practice, stand in there and go, I'm going to hit a 95 mile an hour object that's coming at me. And I'm going to discern in a millisecond, whether it's a fastball, a curveball, a slider, where it's going to end up and where I'm going to put my bat, right? Yes, all the practice in the world matters. You got to do it a lot of times, but you have to tell yourself going in, I'm going to hit the ball. Even though you know that on average, if you're having a Hall of Fame career in baseball, you're going to hit that ball, get a hit, some sort, 3 out of 10 times. If you do it 3 out of 10 times, it means you're batting 300 for your career. You're going to the Hall of Fame if you play a certain amount of years.
It's crazy numbers.
Right?
Yeah.
It's crazy numbers. But you have to go up every single time thinking you are going to hit it.
To do that, yes.
Right? And then when you don't, you have to have a mental approach that is not about, well, don't do that. It's the correction of, okay, that didn't work, so now what do I need to do instead? It's a subtle difference, but I think it's a huge difference.
Well, it is. I had something, while you were talking, came to mind is public speaking.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody loves to public speak, don't we? No,
I'm okay with it.
I don't mind it. Obviously, we're up here talking. However, I remember when I first started to do a form of public speaking or speaking in front of people, and I kind of got thrown into it. It wasn't like I took a bunch of courses and learned how to do it. I mean, I think the only way you learn how to speak in front of people is by speaking in front of people.
Some truth to that.
And the first couple of times I did it, I remember in my mind, obviously I'm nervous. It's a new thing. It's a bunch of people I don't know. It's all new. And I wanted to show up as my best. And I remember the first couple of times, it was always a focus of like, okay, don't mess up, don't stutter, don't speak too fast, don't. And I remember at least how it felt from my perspective, my first couple of times doing it. It wasn't great. It wasn't a great presentation. And then there was one, and I don't remember how far into public speaking it was, but I think it was probably a little bit into it, where I got my feet wet a little bit, kind of knew the cadence of things. And I was feeling very nervous because it was coming up to my turn to talk. And I'm like, I felt the don'ts rising up. And then I remember slamming the lid on it. And I'm like, you're going to knock it out of the park because you're going to present like this.
Mm-hmm.
And what I envisioned in a very, very short period of time was precision and success and a good cadence and clear vocals and word choice and eye contact with people and walking around the room. And that's what I did.
Mm-hmm.
And then I sat down and I'm like, oh, it's over already? I want to go more.
Yep.
But it was so interesting to literally feel the difference in my body when I shut down the no's and the don'ts and then was like, no, this is what we're doing.
Mm-hmm. Turns into I want,
mm-hmm.
I will, I'll shoot for,
mm-hmm.
right? This is how I want to be. That is key, right? And anything like that is I want to be clear. I want to be confident, right? I want to show up effectively. I want to be engaging. I want to be entertaining, right? All those things matter so much more than I don't want to fail. Because again, when we say that, we get this image in our head of what would failure look like, what would it feel like, and we become so terrified by that idea that we're not able to stay within ourselves, right? The fear, the possibility of something, which is future tripping in a lot of ways, becomes the focus rather than what can I do right now on the skill set. I have something with that from work. I've been learning a lot of new things in this new career that I'm in health insurance. And I had this stretch not too long ago where I felt like, oh my gosh, I don't want to screw this up. I don't want to do, blah, 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 blah. And then through a similar process like this, I went, well, wait a minute. How about I just say, I want to go in and learn how to do this well, learn how to do this effectively. Let myself be new at something. I think I mentioned this a few weeks ago.
You did.
Right? Let myself be new at something. But in order to do that and do that well, I've been learning that I have to frame it in the sense of, okay, I know I can show up like this in my personality with my coworkers. Whoever I'm talking to on the phone, I can choose if I'm friendly. I can choose if I'm nervous. I can choose if I'm unfriendly. So let me be open. Let me be friendly. And if I try something lighthearted and the person on the other end isn't responding to that, okay, I don't need to do that anymore. And then I don't have to take it personally. Instead, I will be a person who is going to do well. And I started telling myself that I was going to be a employee that day who was going to learn something, offer up the best of what I've got, right? And contribute. That's a whole lot different than, boy, I really hope I don't screw up A, B, or C.
Sure.
Right? Because then I started hyper-focusing on those things, and it made it difficult to get the task done.
I can totally imagine because half of your thoughts are derailed thinking about that. And then you're like, no, actually, I need to focus on what I'm doing. It would be so interesting. Can you imagine if there was a way to get a download of the mental script of a day?
Oh.
To then go back and reread it and be like, wow, I thought that. I didn't even know that thought came through. I don't even remember that one. Or like, how many times did I think this?
The self-language.
Yes.
That would be so cool.
Especially, well.
Or sobering.
Yeah, probably both. But, like we've talked before, like your body, your brain and everything, you get in your habits and your routines, and your brain does that because it's less decision making. It's less fatigue. Your brain is an organ that takes a lot of energy, and the more that you use it, the more energy you're using. So if it can reduce its energy consumption so the rest of your body can do its job, it picks its pathways and has cemented them in. That's what you're doing all day, every day. And I think it's probably the same for your thoughts.
Yeah.
And so I wonder how many of your thoughts that you constantly have that you notice are on repetition that you have been telling yourself for like years.
Yeah. Years.
And I mean, we know, they say like your thoughts become your words and your words become your actions and your actions create your life or something to that effect. And it sounds a little cliche and cheesy, but like you were saying, there is merit to it.
There is.
Because your words and your actions and your thoughts, they all really form what you're doing. And if you tend to look back the last few years, I bet you if you really thought about it, there's some thoughts that you've had a few years ago that are still present today.
Of course.
That are not serving you.
Of course.
And I wonder if they are the anchor that's holding you back from going to where you're wanting to go.
Yeah. Those things that normally hold us back usually are a lot of don'ts, or I wish I wouldn't have, or I'm afraid of. Those things.
You should write them down when they come up.
It's a good idea.
To recognize them.
Yeah. And I think we can find them. If we were to list out, and I've done a similar exercise like this before with clients, list out all the things you're really afraid of, right? Or the things that you don't want to have happen in life. And then ask them, how often do you think about that possibility of losing that? Mm-hmm. And if the answer is a lot, they've just found one of the thoughts that they're telling themselves quite a bit. Right. Then it becomes, how would you flip that? Where you're still acknowledging reality, right? But you're focusing somewhere else. We hear a lot, there's tons of, we'll get about this after the break. But this is where I think all the talk about manifesting and things come from, right? Mm-hmm. Which tends to have a kind of a magical tone to it, which some people like and don't like. But I do think there's something important about that it, Star Wars talked about once upon a time, what you focus on determines your reality. Mm-hmm. And if you're focused on a negative thing, that's going to be shaping your approach to not just that thing, but to a lot of other things. Mm-hmm. So that's what we're talking about here. I think it's a really powerful way to just recognize right where the dividing line is between what is the reality in the world going on and to what degree am I shaping that reality in a way that is making it negative against myself unnecessarily.
Those are some good questions.
Yeah, that's just worth exploring. All right. Let's take another break here on Staying Power. When we come back, before we dig into practical ways to kind of dig yourself through something like this, we'll have our weekly segment. This week, it's 2 Minutes of Terror, so you're going to want to stick around for this one because it's pretty good. We will see you back here in just a minute on Staying Power.
If you've been thinking about upgrading your home, this might be your sign.
We're proud to be sponsored by Pars Revive Renovation, serving Bellevue, the East Side, and the greater Puget Sound.
They specialize in turning everyday spaces into something functional, beautiful, and tailored to you.
From kitchens and bathrooms to full renovations, they bring the same level of care and attention to detail that we talk about here on Staying Power.
Because your environment matters. It shapes how you feel, think, and live.
Check them out at parsrenovation.com. That's P-A-R-S renovation.com and see what's possible for your home.
Most people wait until their relationships fall apart before they look for answers. But what if you could learn from the experts before the damage is done? On the Glenn Gilbert Connection, I sit down with psychologists, coaches, and real people who've lived through the fire, so you don't have to. If you're ready to lead with clarity, love with intention, and build something that lasts, tune in every 2 weeks on Sundays from noon to 1 p.m. for the Glenn Gilbert Connection, where grown folks come to grow.
Real people, real life, real radio. Alternative Talk 1150.
Welcome back to Staying Power. JD here with Ashley.
Hello.
And we are talking about reframing in a lot of ways, right? That dividing line between what's really happening in the world and to what degree are we shaping it with the thoughts and the words that we say to ourselves. We're going to get into some practical steps for anybody who's doing that, and chances are it's all of us doing that. But first and foremost, 2 minutes of terror. Here we go.
Go!
Thanks, Homer. All right. Ashley, go ahead.
Okay, well, shock and odd, I pretty much lost my temper at work earlier this week.
Okay.
On somebody I never thought I would get angry at, ever.
Oh.
It's the IT person that works for us, or like the person that we work with at our IT company. He's fantastic. I love and adore him, appreciate him so much. But he accidentally knocked over a full cup of coffee that went directly onto my scanner on my desk, which is what I use to scan documents and everything. It went all over my phone, all over my keyboard. It went all over everything on my entire desk.
Oh, no.
And I don't know what, I think it was a really just not great day. I have never gotten mad at this person before. This is not something I would ever imagine getting mad at. And it was amazing how fired up I was. Wow. The point that my staff just all of a sudden, it's like they were like little elves coming from nowhere. All of a sudden I see all these little hands like cleaning things up. And I had to check myself and I'm like, oh my gosh, did I just lose it? And he felt really bad, of course. And it was a total accident. And we got some things cleaned up. It took some time, and then everything was okay, and it's all worked out.
So you had to clean up not just the actual mess, but then the blow up?
I mean, it's not like I went off yelling at him, but I think my responses were very short and very clipped. And I was like, this scanner's like $500 that you just dumped an entire cup of coffee into. And then it just went everywhere.
Ooh.
And I was like,
ooh, ouch.
In a very already chaotic day, and I had vendors coming in unannounced, and it was just everything all at once, and it was terrible. We got past it, all's good, Kuna Matata, but it was a moment.
Wow.
Like, wow.
And so you felt bad about it.
Yeah, I mean, he felt bad. I said like, hey, sorry for being so short with you. And he's like, oh my gosh, like I deserved it. I'm like, no, actually, you didn't.
It's a mistake.
An accident does not deserve the wrath of Ashley. Okay, so it's fine. Anyways.
All right. Well, we all have those moments, and I probably would react to something similar if that had happened. But all right. So my terror this week is one of those things that's one of these funny stories in a way that just reminds me that I'm getting older.
Did you lose your keys again?
No.
Oh.
I hurt myself cleaning my bathtub. Yep. And here's why. Because I was standing on the outside of my bathtub shower and I was trying to scrub the opposite side, like the wall of it, right? Trying to clean it out. But instead of being like a normal person, taking off my shoes, getting in the tub, scrubbing it, like standing there, I decided I wanted to lean over and brace myself with one hand, my left hand, on the wall,
so you can
lean
scrub
over.
with the right.
So I scrub with the right. What, of course, happened when the wall is wet? My left hand slipped, and to catch myself, it slid down like 2 feet, and then it caught myself, and my pectoral muscle on my left arm just erupted in pain. Now, here's the crazy thing. So I think I pulled muscle, and I'm sitting there going, ow, laughing at the irony on one level. Like I hurt myself scrubbing out my tub because I'm lazy. Turns out I actually popped out my rib.
What?
Like that's there's a term for it where it kind of comes out of joint. That's what happened.
Oh.
And so I needed some medical professionals to put it back in.
When did this happen?
Just a few days ago.
JD.
Just a few days ago. Ask me when I got it put back in. About 2 hours ago. About 3 hours ago. Yeah. And I thought but the thing was, I thought I'd torn the muscle.
Sure.
I was having trouble bringing my arm up over my head. I woke up this morning this is not good. And this happened a couple of days ago. It's like, oh, this is not good. So I went to a professional and this was pointed out to me and they fixed it right there.
Nice.
Yeah. And the pain went away, which is amazing. But yeah, I hurt myself scrubbing my tub. And I don't know if that's an age thing or just a dumb thing. Maybe a little bit of both. Probably both. God. So I know. So the terror is I have to be aware that I am now, we all are, but as I get older, I have to do less stupid crap.
Yeah.
in my everyday
we don't
life.
bounce back as fast, so you have to take the necessary precautionary measures.
Amazing.
To protect that.
And you know what? Frankly, I'm lucky that I didn't slip entirely and fall headfirst into the tub, which would have been worse.
I mean, you're lucky that you didn't fall and slam your face against the wall.
Exactly.
That's what I was thinking. Maybe it was
exactly. No.
Okay.
No.
Well, I'm glad you're okay.
Thank you.
All ribs are accounted for.
All ribs are accounted for. They're all there and they're all in their proper places. But yeah.
Wow.
So it wasn't a separated rib, but it was just there's a term for that. It was just a little bit out of joint. And it's better now. Interestingly so, the pain is totally gone. Okay. Wow. Yeah. Anyway. All right. So let's get back to this. Ashley, if you can stop laughing at this point. All right. So more or less what we're talking about here is...
You didn't go and clean the tub and don't slip and fall, did you?
What's that?
When you were cleaning your tub. You didn't think don't slip and fall?
No, I did not.
Are you sure?
Maybe I should have.
Maybe you did.
Maybe I should have. What a way to frame that would be, I'm going to choose the safe way to do this.
Yeah.
Step into the tub. Maybe sit down in the tub, get on your knees, right, and scrub.
Yeah.
Be a normal person.
Okay.
Maybe that would have been better. Anyway, so when we focus on the don'ts, we're kind of worried about what we need to avoid, right? What we're talking about is shifting, our focus on reality and what's possible towards the intention of how we want to be in a given moment or what we want to do or what we're shooting for. That's really what we're talking about. Avoidance versus attention, right? So you said in your example about giving a presentation, you said it very well. Instead of don't do this, I want to do this. I want to be confident. Because that allows you to just show up in whatever way in the moment confident is. That's why, even giving a lot of directions to somebody, like to school students, of when you're doing public speaking, don't do this, don't do this, don't do this, don't do this. You're being evaluated on this list of things. Don't do this. You can also overwhelm them with do this, do this, do this, do this, do this instead, because then that reinforces the opposite of that. And of course, you're being graded for it in school. So that's there's automatically this negative association, because if I don't do this, I'm going to get a poor grade, right? That's the challenge, right, with those things. But here's what we're talking about. So when it comes to practical things, the first step is to flip the frame. Notice when, as you said, if we could download our thoughts and our language, how much of it is avoiding something and how much of it is intention.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you notice it's an avoiding thing, what would flipping the frame to intention look like instead? Mm-hmm. And that can be an open-ended question. It could be a million things, right? So do that. That's a practical tip.
Okay.
What else?
Let me think. Well, I guess kind of what you said earlier, but like really in present moment, try and stay and listen to what you're actually saying, whether you're saying it out loud, you're saying it in your brain, and take note and write it down, actually.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Really. And I'm kind of saying this for myself of like, how many times do I have a thought that comes through that I give it way too much time and attention that does not serve me, and it really is what I'm trying not to do. And like we keep always saying it, but like what you focus on, you become, or what you look for, you will find. And if you're looking for the don'ts and you're saying the don'ts all around, that you're going to find more of them.
Mm-hmm.
And I think just really watching your language.
Yeah. Paying very close attention to it. Added to that, when we make our language more on actions that we want to take in the moment, as opposed to outcomes we're worried are going to happen, as if somehow they're fated or cursed, those types of things go a long way, right? Reminding yourself to make eye contact when you're talking. That's a good reminder. Don't worry about the consequences, right? But if I don't, make eye contact.
Sure.
Just breathe, right? I remember one time a therapist sharing with me, like, if you're in the middle of a difficult conversation with somebody and your brain is scrambling for the next answer, you're not really listening to what's going on. Mm-hmm. So why don't you just make yourself aware of your breathing? And if you notice in this conversation that your breathing is short, just slowly start breathing and just see what happens. calms you down, right? Just breathe, calming on that. Another one that comes to mind for me is normalizing imperfection.
Oh, that's a good one.
One of the best pieces of advice I ever got when I was in my academia days, I was in graduate school, and a professor who was easily the best lecturer I had ever been around in my life. He was absolutely amazing. And I wanted to be a teacher just like him, because even though he was lecturing, he was engaging, he asked questions, he took in feedback. And he said and I asked him one day, I said, how do you pull that off? You have all this knowledge and you have these minimal notes. What do you do? And he says, well, here's the thing. Every time you give a talk, a lecture, a presentation, you're actually giving 3. There's the one that you planned, the one that you gave, and the one that you wish you would have done when it was over, right? And I loved that because it let me off the hook. It said, here's the reality. You're going to plan this out and it's going to go differently. You're going to get questions you don't expect. You might leave something out. You might not feel super great that day, right? The words may not flow freely that day. Mm-hmm. You prepared it, but it went another way. And then when you look back on it, you go, man, I forgot to do that. Or I wish I would have done that. Or this person asked a question that I never considered. I wish I would have considered that. And the whole reason why he wanted me to look at it that way was that so I would accept that, normalize that imperfection, and use it as a catalyst to the next time add those things in, make those adjustments, and over time improve. And the process would keep going. Mm-hmm. So normalizing that, however it might be, is a really good way to go forward, because then you're letting yourself off the hook and not worrying so much about negative outcomes. Mm-hmm. So,
well, and on the other side of that coin, normalizing it, but like shrinking it.
Yeah.
We make things, most times we make things so much larger and harder than they are. Mm-hmm. And how many times have we gone into something and we're like, this is going to be difficult. This is so hard. This is so stressful. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm going to fail. And then you get through it. First of all, you're alive on the other side. And then you look back and you're like, oh, wasn't that bad? Wasn't that hard? Okay, it might have been rough, but I got through it. And sometimes there are things that are rough, and it's really a slog to get through it. Or you butcher a presentation or whatnot. Somebody asks you when you're up on stage, asks you a question and you don't know the answer.
Oh, sure.
So now you're fumbling. You're like, well, this is embarrassing. I'm supposed to be the authority, and now they're asking me something that I don't know, and in real time, I don't know how to properly address the fact I don't know how.
Right.
But, just instead of going for absolute perfection, just know that there's probably going to be some hiccups that come along the way, and not to minimize them and not give them the addressing that they deserve, because sometimes it could be like, oh, I need to prepare some more. Like I was not as prepared. I didn't sleep very good. There are things that you can do to set yourself up, and you should recognize those. But otherwise, just take it one real step at a time and break it up into like one thing. So if we're going to use example of public speaking, like you probably have X amount of points, like 5 points you're going to talk about.
Yeah.
Or, maybe it's like an 8 to 10 minute long speech. It's a little mini TED talk. And you're going to break it up into sections and focus one at a time. Of like, okay, got through that section, knocked it out of the park. Hit that bullet point, knocked it out of the park. Moving on. And acknowledging like the little win when it happens.
Absolutely.
Instead of acknowledging the mass blunder.
Yep.
Acknowledge the little win.
Yep.
Because then your body is like feeling that little endorphic kick of, oh, great, we did good. Okay, try it again.
Progress.
Let's
it's something to build on. Something to build on. Yeah, that's really good. Shrinking that down so it's not so much larger than life. Right? I think it's important. Last thing I'll mention is something you alluded to. Catching your language in real time. Don'ts. We talk about shoulds a lot. Should is one of those words. If you're saying should, pay attention to it. Slow down. Take a look at what you're shoulding. Right? And in this case, don't is a good one. So and notice when you're saying a don't that is about something fear-based, and reframe it. So like, for example, Ashley, how would you reframe don't mess up? What would you say? Telling yourself don't mess up. What would you tell yourself instead as a reframe?
We're going to do it right. I'm going to do it right.
Right. Don't mess up. I would say do what you planned. Right? Don't say the wrong thing. Be discerning. Right? Listen more than talk. Right? That's what I would say. Don't look stupid. How do I want to show up? Right? Asking those things. I think those
interesting that that's your perspective, how you would say that.
What's that?
I just like, how do I want to show up? Instead of don't look stupid, it's how do I want to show up? I'd be like, I'm going to look smart.
Yeah. How do I want to show up?
I'm going to look fantastic. I'm going to look like me.
Yeah. What I like about how do I want to show up? That gives me some time in the process. Sure. Because what that does say, I do want to show up positively. In the end, I want to show up as who I am. Right?
I like that.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Ashley, for digging into that one.
That's a great topic,
Thank
JD.
You.
I really liked this one.
Thank you. Yeah, it was interesting to dig that through. So thanks so much for your perspective on it. Thank you to all of you for listening and joining us for this episode of Staying Power. Remember, if you missed any of this episode or would like to catch up on all our other episodes, you can get this as a podcast wherever you get your podcasts. We also have a YouTube channel. You can watch video of these episodes. That's at Staying Power Show on YouTube. You can also find out more about us at our radio home, 1150 AM KKNW in Seattle. At all those locations in the show notes for every episode, you'll find links to social media and how you can interact with us, as well as a link to our email, stayingpowershow@gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you. You'll also find links there to our wonderful sponsor, Pars Revive Renovation, a home renovation company based here on the east side of the Seattle area, the Puget Sound, but they serve the whole area. And they do wonderful interior redesign work. Check them out at Pars Renovation. We talk about renovating ourselves on the inside of ourselves. They talk about renovating the spaces that matter the most to us. And that's why they're a wonderful partner with us. And we thank them for their support. We hope you go check them out. If you do check them out, make sure you mention that you heard about them on Staying Power and just see what happens. And please come back next week and see what happens on another episode of Staying Power. We will see you then. I am JD.
And I'm Ashley.
We will see you soon. Thanks, everybody.